Welcome to IndyStar Sports Day Podcast. I'm Clark Wade, video producer, and I'm here with race insider Jim Ayello. Hi, Jim.
I'm excited. We got one more race to go. It should be a really fun championship weekend.
That's right. It comes down to it on Sunday for the championship with double points. Mm-hmm. Who do you think's going to win? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun just to start there, because you have four pretty legitimate contenders. We've talked about before there are 7 mathematical contenders, but I think we can pretty much count out Will Power, Rossi, and Rahal. Good as seasons as they had, and they're competing for, good spots in the championship. They need a ton to go right and they pretty much need the 4 main contenders to crash in and finish consecutively last for them to even have a chance. So 4 contenders. It's Newgarden, it's Dixon, it's Ayello, and it's Pagenaud. So it's Penske versus Dixon.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going with Joseph Newgarden for a couple of reasons. One, I think that one of the biggest reasons I looked back at, he's only made, in my opinion, 2 mistakes this year. 2 major mistakes this year, I should say. One was Watkins Glen. We just saw that. That was pretty bad. He owned up to it. Kind of drag racing his teammate Will Power out of the pit there, and we heard Sebastian Bourdais go, "What's he thinking? He's leading the championship. Why did he do that?" It's a good question, but he's just kind of a competitive guy, and I think that's what he was just trying to get a better spot. So I kind of understand where he's coming from there. But the last time he made a major mistake was when he went 3 wide at Texas early in the race and crashed into the wall in turn 4. Dumb decision. He said it himself afterward. He thought he had it, didn't have it, crashed, lost significant points there, and that was a big mistake. But if you look at what he did right after that, it was kind of incredible. He went on a 3-win. He won 3 races of the next 6, podiumed at a couple more. He was outstanding. I mean, just flourished immediately after that. And well, he probably wouldn't acknowledge that Texas motivated him to do that, and maybe he had that coming anyway. You kind of see this in him. He's a super competitive guy. He really, really hates making mistakes. They kind of eat him alive, and we saw the way he bounced back from him at Texas with the way he rolled the next 6 races and thrust himself into the championship lead. So I'm going with Newgarden. I think picking against Scott Dixon is just glutton for punishment.
Yes. If I'm starting an IndyCar fantasy team, Scott Dixon's my number 1 pick.
And you wouldn't be wrong. I mean, I guess picking against this guy, he's won 4 championships. He's won it for a reason. He's come from behind. I mean, we saw in 2015 he was something like 45 points back of Juan Pablo Montoya when he won at Sonoma. So he's capitalized on this double points thing before. He knows how to handle the pressure. He's the Iceman for a reason. Yeah, I think I'm asking for punishment picking against Scott Dixon, but I'm going with Newgarden. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going
to have to make a lunch bet.
He is just he's just come onto the scene so strong this year. He's got 7 wins, 4 of them this year. So just a huge breakout season for him, and he's going to be the IndyCar star that kind of carries the series for the next decade. So I think it kind of begins now.
Okay, well, let's look forward to next season. What are 5 things that IndyCar fans should look forward to for next season?
Well, there's going to be a lot of intrigue. I think the first thing, I don't know if I can rank them, but I think one of the biggest things obviously is going to be the new car, and we'll talk more about push to pass later. But the new car is going to make things a lot more competitive, it seems, on street and road courses. Jay Fry has been ecstatic about the way these cars have tested during their first 3 tests. Oriol Servia and Juan Pablo Montoya, who've been test driving the cars, have been ecstatic about the way they've been testing. They've been really, really happy.
I've been ecstatic about watching them. Yeah. They're very sleek.
And they look good, don't they?
They look really good.
They look great. So I really do think that's going to be something very interesting for fans to kind of keep an eye on and see what kind of racing we get next year. Some other things, we still have silly season to sort out. I don't think everything's going to be sorted out at Sonoma. We might have 3 new teams, 4 new teams. We might have no new teams. Juncos is still up in the air. Harding says it's definitely doing one with Gabby Chavez, but until it actually happens, it's hard to count on it. So, I think that's probably the most solid of them. But until it happens, let's just wait and see. We also have Carlin. Trevor Carlin might be starting an IndyCar team, might not be. I don't know. We eventually will have Andretti Steinbrenner, which would be fun to watch with Colton Herta. That won't happen next year, but there's a lot of new teams that could be coming, and a lot of new blood in IndyCar next year. So that could be really, really interesting. Kind of jumping off that point too, is we have a lot of new drivers in new places. If you believe the rumors on Tony Kanaan going to Foyt, that could be really interesting. Just for the record, I spoke with Kanaan on Friday, today being Wednesday. So I talked with him a few days ago. He said he has been talking to Foyt, but nothing's signed yet, and he's still hoping to announce at Sonoma. So nothing confirmed according to Tony, but it definitely seems like that's a likely landing spot for him. So that'll be really, really interesting. We have Veach going to Andretti, filling out that 4 cars, even though there are rumors of a 5th. There are rumors of a 3rd at Rahal. Still a lot to be settled, and I don't think we'll figure it all out at Sonoma. So that should be really, really interesting. I'm going to count that as 3 since I talked for so long.
That's fine.
I'm trying to think. What else? There's still a lot more coming in terms of young. I mean, the Indy Lights thing should be really interesting. We'll see what we're kind of... Kyle Kaiser, he's got 3 guaranteed races, right? So we don't know, and we don't know where that's going to go. We know that Santi Urrutia has said he's close to 100% on securing a full-time IndyCar ride, so there's that. And then one of the other things I think that's been really interesting is we just saw yesterday, Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports has already added a 3rd car to its Indy 500 pack. I mean, we already have people getting ready for the 2018 Indy 500, so it's kind of crazy. And yes, if you read the story yesterday, they've kind of linked with a guy with a little bit of an odd background, murdered his wife. So that was very, very strange. French guy, very, very strange. Read the story on IndyStar.com. It's a very weird story. But yeah, that's who they're teamed up with for the Indy 500 for next year. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of cool to see Indy 500 rides already getting secured next year. I mean, it looks like we might get to 33 a little quicker than we got to this year when Buddy Lazier was kind of that last guy. We weren't so sure. So who knows how that happens? But yeah, so there's a lot left to look forward to beyond the championship and beyond Sonoma.
Okay, now you just mentioned Tony Kanaan. What about some other drivers? Who's going to land where in 2018?
Yeah, we might see. So if Kanaan goes to Foyt, what happens to Carlos Munoz? Is he just done? I don't know. We just heard Spencer Pigot is going to be now to be the full-time driver for Ed Carpenter Racing. So he's not going to just be racing road and street courses like he was. So what does that say about J.R. Hildebrand? It probably means if Ed continues to drive the ovals, that means he's probably only looking for another road and street course driver. So that could be Kaiser, that could be Urrutia, that could be anybody, but I don't think it's Hildebrand. Hildebrand's more of an oval specialist anyway. I don't think he's taking Ed's job. So where does that land? Where does that put him? So that's really interesting. We really have no idea. I talked to Max Chilton a couple of weeks ago in Watkins Glen, and I said, how you feeling about the future? He was a little bit vague, but he said he doesn't even know if he'll be in America next year. He could not even be part of the series next year, or he could be racing. His dad has a significant investment in Carlin Racing, so he could be racing for Carlin. And there are rumors that if Carlin happens, Charlie Kimball will follow to that team. But if Carlin doesn't happen, where does that leave those two? So it's a lot of intrigue. And you mentioned Kanaan too. We'll get back to that. I mean, if he lands at Foyt, what a weird pairing,
That's a weird
right?
combination there.
Yeah. I mean, you have this team that has, it would be Connor Daly, it looks like. I mean, again, that's not confirmed, but it looks like Connor Daly, young guy, Tony Kanaan, old guy, and they're kind of going, and it's you have to think for Kanaan, he wants to stay with a team where he's got a chance to win. Foyt really hasn't been that this year for the first 14 or so races.
Yeah, they've been okay the last few races.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Last two, maybe last 2 or 3 races they've been good. We'll see what they do at Sonoma, but maybe he's feeling confident about where the direction they're heading. 2018 Universal Aero Kit, people are going to be all kind of learning at the same level or starting from the same level.
Yeah.
So maybe he thinks there's going to be an interesting competitive chance for the win. Kanaan will be a factor at the Indy 500. He always is. So maybe that's what happens there. But yeah, still a ton of driver intrigue right now.
So what about Elio Castroneves?
Yeah.
Do you think he can change Roger Penske's mind?
Yeah, he says he can. The last time I talked to him, he said that he still has hope that there was a handshake agreement that between him and Roger and Tim Cindric that if actually he wasn't even that specific. He just says he has a handshake agreement that he can change, and then he thinks he can change some minds. I don't think he can. I think the ship has sailed. I think Roger's kind of made this decision. This one persistent rumor has been around for such a long time of him going to sports cars. Penske's new reinvigorated sports car team, I suppose. It was there before, it's gone, now it's back. I think it just makes a lot of sense for Elio at this point in his career in terms of securing his future. Now, in terms of a driver, I mean, gosh, the guy's still a championship contender. He's got to win this year. He was a factor at the 500. Man, he almost won if he had the car to.
He's had a really strong year.
He's had a great year. So to me, I mean, this is just personally, I think it'd be a shame. I mean, it really would to kind of see this guy in a way pushed out the door because,
especially if he pulls off the win on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's. And maybe that if the handshake agreement is that he wins the championship, he gets to defend it next year. But like I said, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think Penske might say right off into the sunset as the champion after 20 years of trying to win. You finally did it. It's great, and it's a great story. But I think Elio said he has made his feelings clear. again, he hasn't been specific about what those feelings are, but the competitor that he is, I think he wants to be back in IndyCar next year. And it's just like I said, it's a shame. He's been a great ambassador for IndyCar. He's a fan favorite. People love him. We're going to see Kanaan for the next year, maybe 2, depending on, again, the rumors that you believe. So it'd be strange to kind of have Kanaan and not Ayello in a weird way. But yeah, it's just kind of a shame. And I hope I'm wrong. I do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he can convince Roger and Tim to let him stay another year and they can go 4 cars next year. But I think they're going to lose Ayello. I think it's going to be a 3-car team next year. Still incredibly competitive because it's the Penske's. But yeah, I think
they'll pick up a 4th for the 500.
Yeah. Oh, I think Ayello will be back.
You'll think you'll be back just for that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that'll be part of the deal.
Okay.
Is that he'll race sports cars and then he'll be back for the 500. And who knows? Maybe we might see Juan again. I mean, we might see a 5-car Penske program for the 500.
That's what I was fishing for, to see if Juan was going to.
Yeah, he's interested. I don't know. It wasn't as it doesn't seem as locked up as last year seemed. When he ran this year for them, and that kind of seemed to be worked out ahead of time. But this seems to be the way they want to go. Is they want Ayello to get a chance to win his 4th Indy 500, and I think they will give him that opportunity next year, and maybe even beyond that. I really do. I think they want to give him as many chances as long as they feel comfortable to tie that record and win 4. But yeah, I don't think he's got a chance of coming back next year, unfortunately, and that really stinks. It really is, because he's still got plenty of talent.
Yeah, he does. And he seems like he's 30 years old.
I know, he's having fun. I mean, it was one of the. I just went back and read his transcript from Media Day, and the first thing he says when he walked into the room was that he just went to his doctor's for a physical, and the doctor said he had a body of a 19-year-old. And talking to Tim Cindric the other day, he was saying that he still talks like he's 14 years old. I mean, the guy is just young in every way possible. So I don't think he's ready to go. I think he's still, like I said, he's still competitive. He won at Iowa. He's been in the top 5 the last couple races. And obviously he's 3rd in the championship, only 22
That'd be
points
a lot
back.
different, if he's finishing in the middle of the pack every race.
Yeah. Well,
or
I mean,
not finishing a race.
As a lifelong fan for you, how hard is it going to be? How weird is it going to be to watch an IndyCar race without Ayello?
No, that's true.
I mean, honestly, what do you think? I mean, is it going to be different for you, or how do you feel about it?
It'll seem like something's missing.
Yeah.
Just like when Rick Mears, when he finally retired.
Yeah.
There was that one driver that's just not out there. It just doesn't seem the same.
Yeah, and I saw Mears. I was reading an interview with Mears. It wasn't my story, but I read it, and he was talking about how he was ready to go. Like, he had talked to Roger and said, I don't have it anymore in terms of like drive and want to and like absolute desire, and that's when he knew he was kind of ready to step away. Ayello's not there. Ayello wants to win badly. So again, it's just kind of a shame to see a guy that is at the top of his game. Maybe he's not peak Ayello that we saw 10 years ago, but he's still darn good, and
he's still got a little magic left.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's see. Maybe if he delivers that magic on Sunday, maybe we'll all be wrong, and he'll be back next year.
All right, you mentioned Zach Veach earlier, signing with Andretti Autosport, a 22-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Signing such a young kid, just a couple of races this year. Indy 500, he finished, he finished 26th, started it in the back row, and then he started 19th at Barber Motorsports and finished 19th.
Yeah, with Ed Carpenter, yeah. Great opportunity for a great guy. Let me just start there. One of the guys that when I first started this beat was among the most welcoming and was such a nice guy and willing to help out in any way he can. So I'm very happy for him on a personal level. It's a great ride for him. What I think for Andretti is that it's really interesting. If you look at this financially, the way we kind of talked about when Takuma Sato left, Michael mentioned a lot of it was financial for them. They were hoping to bring Takuma back when they decided to stay with Honda because Takuma brings money from both Panasonic and Honda. And so they lost out on the money that Takuma left. So I think it's fair to assume that Zach is going to be bringing a significant amount of money with him. I don't know how much. That hasn't been confirmed. I have been informed by a source that's close to Veach that it's a 3-year contract, so they must like the deal they have set up with him quite a bit. But I definitely think it's fair to say that Zach, while a talented driver and has earned the spot, I mean, he was really, really good in Indy Lights with Andretti and Bilardi, I believe. He had some really good seasons there, so he's definitely earned the right to have a shot at IndyCar full time. But I think it's also fair to say that he's going to have to he's bringing a significant amount of money, and that's maybe one of the big reasons that he's going to be in IndyCar next year.
Okay, so switching gears here, no pun intended. Nice. Push to pass.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the push to pass, because in your article the other day, you posed the question, should it be used as an offensive weapon? Is it too gimmicky? Does it allow drivers to temporarily boost in horsepower, really help generate more passing?
Yeah.
Should they cut it out, or should they keep it?
Yeah. Oh, so I talked to Jay Fry about this, president of competition for IndyCar, and without saying it like right out front, he wants it gone if it's possible. And so he's really been looking at the data and talking to Juan Pablo Montoya and Oriol Servia about what this 2018 car can do, and he is fairly confident that it is going to generate a lot more natural passing with a lot less drag coming from the cars, the downforce being generated on the bottom of the car. The trailing cars are not going to have as much wind and drag to deal with as they're trying to make a pass. So what he's hoping for is a lot more natural passing and the elimination of push to pass, right? Because, like you said, I think a lot of fans kind of call it gimmicky, but it's almost somewhat necessary on street and road courses right now. You've seen some races, Mid-Ohio, a few other. I think Barber was another one. We just didn't see much passing, So it was nice to see with push to pass. At least you have the option. But back to your point, was that when somebody uses push to pass to try to get around somebody, the other person uses push to pass to defend, which is what Will Power hates. Will Power really hates it and thinks it should only be used as an offensive weapon. Problem with that is it's really hard to kind of control what's an off. So what if they're in a group? And so how do you know who's trying to pass or defend or what? And then the other problem...
you're not sure what the other car is doing.
Exactly. So and how can IndyCar regulate that? The other problem is if you can't use it as a defensive weapon, if you can't use it defensively, what's to stop somebody from running in second behind you and then the last lap, use push to pass and go around you and you lose? So a guy like Will Power, who leads quite a few races, would be very upset if he was sitting in first place about to win a race, somebody uses push to pass to go around him and he can't defend himself. So I don't think that's necessarily the answer. I like where his head's at. I really do. I think you want to generate more passing, so you don't want people using it defensively. But I think what Jay Fry's plan is to eventually eliminate it if possible.
As an old school IndyCar fan, eliminate it. Let the drivers in the cars do all the racing. To me, it's a shot of steroid when you're trying to pass a car, and I'm like, okay, come on.
That's what, and I think a lot of fans feel that way, and I think Jay Fry feels that way, to be 100% honest with you. So I think I don't think it'll happen next year because I think they want to see for sure what the new cars are doing on track. But they're going to be studying it for sure. I mean, if they think they can generate a lot of natural passing with new cars without push to pass, I would not be surprised that if by 2019 it's gone.
Danica Patrick, do you think there's any chance at all she would return to IndyCar?
Well, I would say no. I'll say no. I don't think she's coming back. And who knows? She lost her ride with Stuart Haas. There might be another NASCAR team that picks her up. I don't know. It depends what she wants. She has to find the sponsors for that and that kind of a thing. But she has said in the past, it was 2016, ahead of the 100th running of the Indy 500, she was interviewed and she said she does not ever see herself coming back to IndyCar as a full-time driver. Now, we've heard similar sentiments expressed by guys like Juan Pablo Montoya and Dario Franchitti, who have left IndyCar and said, I'm probably not going to come back. And they came back. So...
yeah, the grass is not always green.
Exactly. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing Danica Patrick to those two guys in terms of achievement. Those guys kind of have the leg up on her. But who knows? I mean, maybe that's a ride that she would be interested in. And if she is interested, and this is what I wrote on IndyStar.com today, if she's interested, IndyCar has to be interested because she brings eyes. She brings debate. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to, like, if she came back, there would be two kinds of fans that watch. It'd be one, people cheering for her to stick it to everybody and say, prove them wrong, Danica. And there would be another half of the other side of that fence would be, she still stinks. And I told you she couldn't do it and all that stuff.
There's a lot of haters out
There's
there.
a lot of Danica haters. But you know what? Haters still watch and haters still bring ratings. Yep. So I think that would be really interesting for, if she expresses interest, which I think is very doubtful. Because I think she would have a hard time avoiding that perception of she left IndyCar, she went to NASCAR, couldn't hack it, and then went back to IndyCar. And that's tough. She's dealt with a lot of pressure her whole life, and having to deal with that would be real tough. I'm not saying that's what exactly happened. Some people believe it is. But if that's the perception she's going to have to deal with, that would be a ton of pressure on her, more than she's already had on her in NASCAR, I think, in terms of just trying to make it, prove that she belongs out there. The other problem is with this, you'd have to find a team that's willing to handle all of this, right? I mean, we've just talked about all the seats that are kind of filling up pretty quick, right? Yeah. And then there's got to be the team that wants that kind of attention. I don't think a lot of the smaller teams want that kind of attention. Penske's pretty much full. So you're talking maybe about Ganassi or Andretti. Andretti would have to run a fifth car, which they might. Ganassi would have to figure out what they're doing. 2, 3, 4 cars. Right now, we don't know what they're doing. But I just don't. It would be a very tough situation for people to figure out how to handle the Danica mania that would come with her return to IndyCar, and I don't think every team would necessarily welcome that. So it's a really interesting situation. I think it would benefit IndyCar's ratings for a year, and we've seen in the past, and I wrote this today too, when she runs well, the ratings climb. I mean, when she won the pole at Daytona in 2013, the ratings jumped. When she was running in the second row,
everybody wants to tune in and watch.
Exactly. When she qualified in the second row for the Indy 500 4 years after her debut in IndyCar, ratings jumped. She brings eyes, especially when she's running well. So you put her in a good situation and she's able to run well. It's a huge boost for IndyCar, and it comes at a great time. They're negotiating a new TV deal. They're negotiating a new title sponsorship deal. If they were able to bring Danica Patrick along, I can't only think that would help them in their negotiations for those things. So probably a pipe dream for IndyCar.
Less than 1%, is that what you're
saying? Yeah,
okay.
Less than 1%. Like I said, I just don't. To me, if she doesn't get a NASCAR ride, I would see her taking a year off.
Really?
I don't know Danica personally, but she says she's pretty secure in her future. I think maybe she would just take a year to breathe and then kind of figure out what she wants to do, kind of analyze her options. Again, this is if the NASCAR team doesn't pick her up. Who knows? Maybe she runs the Indy 500 again next year. I have no idea what she's going to do, but I know we probably haven't seen the last of Danica racing again, and everyone, as much as like her, don't like her, everyone will be watching.
Awesome. Well, you can read Jim's story about Danica Patrick and many other stories at IndyStar.com. You can also follow Jim on Twitter at Jim Ayello. That's Ayello, no W.
Yeah. A lot of people make that mistake.
That's right. And you can read more about the post-race coverage of this weekend's championship finale at IndyStar.com.